you actually started with, it becomes something else. Oh God, how many of you have really, I want you to think about it. How many of you have really been in a conversation that it started here and then it wound up way over here, right? Totally different from the conversation that you actually started with, right? And you're trying to figure, man, is something wrong with me? Am I not speaking English? Am I speaking a foreign language? What is it? It's, it's none of that. It's they're not trying to hear you. And you are wasting time trying to explain or trying to explain it in 4 or 5 different ways. And you want to show all these analysis and these it's so crazy because you want to show this example here, this illustration here. You just think you try to be so profound the way you try to say it, and they're not trying to hear nothing you have to say. So here's what I want you, 3 things I want you to really kind of walk with. And I want you to understand something, right? First, this whole understanding piece. Right now, I'm a person who really believes in this concept of seeking to understand before being understood. I firmly believe in that concept, right? This is one of the 7 habits of highly influential people by Stephen Covey, right? This is one of his laws in this thing, right? So I'm a firm believer in that. I believe in that. But a person who is exhibiting high conflict personality traits, the last thing on their mind is understanding your program. They want you on their program. And the longer you keep talking, the closer you're going to get to their program. Because one, they're not really trying to exercise any type of understanding, right? What they really want to do is one, either control you or pull you into this bubble that they have, and or just keep you emotionally unstable, right? That's really kind of the 3 things that they're, and it could be more, but I'm just going to work at those 3 things right there, right? Because if you get caught into this confrontation with someone who has high conflict personality, one, because it's about their program, not you, they're going to try to control you, manipulate you, and push you in places that you don't want to go, that you're not trying to go, and they're pushing you there because it's where they want to go. I always talk about the rabbit hole, jumping into the rabbit hole. When you're jumping in the rabbit hole behind somebody, the lead rabbit is the one throwing the dirt back in your face. I know y'all remember me saying that some episodes ago. And they keep throwing that stuff back in your face, throwing that dirt back in your face, and you trying to dig through their dirt, and they just throwing it back in your face. They're moving where they want to go. Okay, I'm gonna turn right over here and throw that dirt in your face. You following right along. They go on left, and they throwing the dirt back in your face. You turning left, and they ain't doing nothing but leading you where they want to go. That's control. That is control. And it's going to, and once they are starting to try to control you, there is going to be some emotional deregulation because you're going to start getting a little more frustrated, a little more hyper. And that's the second piece here. You're going to start getting a little frustrated because you keep trying to repeat yourself. You're trying to figure out new ways of saying it, and they're just going to take you to the right now, or then they're going to take you to the left. And the frustration then brings about the emotional deregulation, right? And then people start looking at you like you crazy, like something's wrong with you. Let's say you have this conversation in front of other people. Let's say you have kids who are around, or you have other relatives who are around, or things of nature there, and you trying to state a fact or state a particular thing, and then they're consistently and constantly just trying to move you in other directions, and you trying to stay right there. what's going to wind up happening is that they're not going to break, because their thing is they're not trying to take accountability anyway. So the more they keep moving you around, the better they feel about themselves. Now, you might feel a little bit more garbage about yourself at this point, and you continue to just get caught up in the whole system of them talking to you crazy or making you think you're crazy or something's wrong with you. And you're just trying to really get your point across, or trying to state your issue. And this is why you issue. For instance, you ever had anybody you trying to explain to somebody? No, I didn't do that. No, you didn't do that. Well, you know good and damn well you did what you said you did. All right? No, you didn't do that. I didn't see you do that. I know you did that. When'd you do that? What? You literally sitting right there. You literally there. The idea is for them not to take no accountability. And you're trying to, now you in the convincing mode. And that's when it really gets real silly, right? Because now you're trying to explain it this way. Then you think about another way because they said something else. Then you try to explain it this way. Then you decide to explain it that way. Then you're going to go over here and explain another way. You're going to explain it 5 different ways, and none of them work because they didn't want to hear it. They have committed to not understanding you. It's not even a thing of really misunderstanding. They have committed to not giving in to you, giving you what it is that you want. And you have to see it that way, because that's the problem. You're not seeing it the way that they are actually presenting it. They are not trying to give you this. And how many of you have had 5-hour conversations, 2, 3, 4, 5-hour conversations? You up all night, or you on a job and someone is trying to explain something to someone on the job, trying to give them some understanding about the situation on the job, and they're committed to not even hearing what you have to say. They want to do it their way. They want to do this and do it, and they are not trying to hear what it is that the instruction that you are trying to give them. How many of us have encountered that person before? And I know many of us have, and many of us sleep next to them. We work next to them. We've been living with them as children growing up. We have them as siblings. We have them as parents. They come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. And the idea is that you think you are the most rational person in the setting, and their idea, they are committed to not understand your rationale, or not giving in to your rationale. And you don't get it. That's the problem. You are not getting it. And you think they're the problem. No, they're clear about their agenda. It's clear about their agenda, right? And so here's the takeaway that I want everyone to look, and it kind of steps into number 3. It kind of steps into number 3. But I want you to understand this is the remedy for that. One, you have to understand that this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to control you, trying to maneuver you around, they're trying to get you off kilter, they're trying to get you emotionally deregulated. You have to understand that. They're trying to frustrate you, they're trying to do a variety of different things to you. But this is how you deal with that. And I don't really get into the whole snipe scenario of, these one quips, like I said what I said and all this old type of stuff here. I don't believe in that type of talk. That's for reality TV. That's not for what we got going on in real life. That's reality TV. But what I am going to say is this here. State what you have to say and stay on topic. And you really repeat it one time. And if they don't understand, find out, get clarity if they understand or not. And if they understand it, okay, no, that's not what I said. That's not what I'm saying. This is what I said right here. Right. And if after the second time they are refusing to try to have any type of meeting on the level that you're on, leave them alone. Because they already have committed to not giving you what it is that you want. This is why you have the issue. Now, this is a continuation of them not giving you what it is that you want, not trying to meet your needs, or not trying to meet the needs that you are setting forth in the workplace, or what are the call and or the needs of the workplace. They already have committed to not doing that before you even got into this conversation. Now, if they are anyone who is trying to do something that is right, and they hear the construction coming, the correction or the constructive criticism coming back their way, and then they are willing to accept it, and then they want to change it, okay, then that's a person who's not exhibiting high conflict personality. That's a person who wants to be worked with, who is trying to be a part of the team, who's part of trying to not be a part of the problem or a part of the issue. But if you got that person who, I'm doing it my way, I don't care what you think, they got the head bob, they got any type of nonverbals that already shows that they are already, they're looking at you when you come in, they're already looking and they're looking crazy at you. And, they got their arms folded on you and all this other type of stuff here. Know that the resistance started before you even opened your mouth. That's what really needs to take place. If they are then needing to then talk over you or not allowing you to finish whatever it is that you're saying, know that the resistance started before you even opened your mouth. The resistance had a head start on you. And the only thing that you can do is give the correction. Now, if you are a person who's in a workforce environment and you're correcting someone, the only thing you can do in that state is give documentation about a situation. And they're going to have a retort for that, a rebuttal for that, obviously, because what it's going to look like is you're trying to bully them, victimizing them, and also because everybody uses the word bully nowadays, right? And this is everybody's getting bullied. The victim is, the bully is now the victim, right? But if you're saying this is the situation, you're saying this is a job, or this is your position in this situation, if you're in a relationship, this is your position. This is how this particular thing that you did made me feel. This is what I'm looking for from you. In this, if you get clear directions about what it is that you're looking for, stand on that. Just have to stand on that. And if they are choosing not to meet you somewhere along that line, along that line there, then know that you're dealing with somebody who doesn't have your best interests at heart. If you then choose to stay in a situation like that, that is a you call. No one else. That's a you call. Not I'm telling anybody to shut because you got this situation going on to break up with your person that you're with. But I am saying re-examine the relationship. If you're on the workforce, re-examine this person's position on the job. You may need to be in a position to get ready to manage them out. You have to dot I's and cross T's. You have to manage them out. Because at the end of the day, they're going to hurt morale. And yeah, they may have been on the job 15, 20 years. You might need to call them in. If they got this type of clout, maybe you might need to move the position to where they may not have as much clout. You don't take their job, but they have to go somewhere where the culture is different. And they have to then, assimilate into a different culture. Right. And that's okay. And what happens with some of those, some people that either they get with the program or they go find them another job, you know, and you just dot I's and cross T's and that. But if you are in a relationship, now, and this is probably a little different when you start talking about parental relationships. You're dealing with a parent or you're dealing with a child who, or a young adult, or a child adult, or adult child, or whatever you want to call it. There's a different dynamics that take place in that because we just don't necessarily can't kill relationships, right? We just can't cut kith and kin like that. But you can manage your dealings with that person and how you then minimize the impact that they will have within your life. You can't do that. And that's all I'm talking about right here is how do you minimize their impact? And this is very important. I know I see a lot of TikTok videos where a lot of AI videos where they're talking about, people who are doing various different things. They had this experience with in the work environment, with relationship environment, relationships, marital relationships, parental relationships, sibling relationships. And then it's like, people decide they want to cut someone off at any given time after a particular thing has happened. And I see a multitude of those videos now because I am, classifying myself as a high conflict decoder and de-escalating expert, that a lot of my content really comes in talking about various different things with people who deal with high conflict personality traits, right? And so when I'm doing that, I'm looking at these type of things. Sometimes I see things I don't necessarily believe it should have been done like that. So you start critiquing and looking at things, and you get information so you can share information. And when you start looking at those family relationships, those are something a little different a lot of times because, most spiritual organizations, religious organizations or whatever, have a thing about cutting off kith and kin, right? That family is family, that, we shouldn't just cut off family. We should always keep the ties of family. And that is a real important thing. Don't necessarily believe in cutting off family, but I do believe in managing my engagement or interaction with certain family members. I don't have time for a lot of the foolishness personally. So I make sure I minimize what it is and how I engage with certain family members. And that's okay. And sometimes I've been called various different names. And I know what I've been called. But I'm cool. I'm all right. I know that ain't me. So I ain't worried about it. So I keep it moving. I'm okay. I move around all that. Right. I'm not getting pulled into any secular conversations. You got animosity with me. I got animosity with you. We having all these barbs going back and forth. We taking all these snipes back and forth. And because at that point, then I start exhibiting high conflict personality traits. And I'm trying not to do that. I've been down that road before. This is the reason why I wrote the book, right? In dealing with this particular type of concept and this particular type of engagement. This is why I wrote the book, because I didn't want to do this anymore. And so the closest to me, the closest ears to me, the closest anything else to me as mine is my own. So I have to take in my own words first before anybody else can take them in. All right. So with that being said, what I do then is make sure that I don't engage with people at a certain level. Um, I make my comments, I say what I have to say, and I leave it alone. I don't engage in the back and forth. I've done that. Tell you, it's very stressful when you do that. It's very stressful. I've had blood pressures 180 over 140. I mean, people talking about they're ready to commit me to, you know, commit me to a hospital. They bring me into a hospital as far as so my blood pressure didn't come down and all this other type of stuff here. All because I let somebody rile me up, right? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this no more. How can I do something other than this besides being on somebody's medication and allowing somebody to kind of get me hemmed in because they got me stressed out. So yeah, this is why I'm talking about this particular subject matter right here, right now. I had a work environment. I was in a work environment once, and I had a manager over me. I was an assistant manager. I had a manager over me. Oh my God, this guy was relentless with the foolishness, right? Playing with my schedule, want to play with my schedule, want to do this. And man, I know I was giving good work. I was taking over some stuff that he wasn't wanting to do. He didn't want to commit to doing something. I was committed to those things that he really wasn't wanting to commit to. And just give me and I knew why he didn't like me. He ain't like nobody of my hue. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It is what it is. Sometimes we say racism, but sometimes we get tricked into that. Don't say racism because it's been said. No, sometimes racism is racism, right? This is still part of the high conflict personality traits. Somebody who exhibits racism, right? And so I had to deal with that. I mean, and at that time, yeah, I'm still learning how to not try to take somebody's head off. I've come from that era. Let me handle my business with you, right? But what does that do? Mess around and take me away from the people who need me the most, right? Because I wasn't regulated enough not to handle my business differently, right? And so after a while, I started learning how to get myself together, and then, turning my situations, of course, over to God and to Allah, to I'm on the Most High, and start doing my work. And then He opened some doors for me somewhere else, and I was able to move into that door. And the guy had a pure fit because now I left. And he trying to get to the point where he literally begged me to stay. Oh, I ain't gonna tell you, I had a field day with him after that point, you know what I mean? Because I let him know I'm still me. I let him know, look, you had this opportunity. They can have me here to do all this type of stuff, and then you blew that. Bro, I'm out. You know what I mean? And he didn't like it, and he'll be okay. But I was one of the instances where I had to think of something different, not getting pulled into the excessive trying to over-explain myself, or defending my own position, or making excuses or reacting. This is what we call deer, having an understanding of deer. The deer is defend, excuse, explain, and react. And I was doing those things. I was defending when I said something. I started defending myself and things, trying to make excuses over particular things or over explaining something. And then I just start reacting. I just get frustrated. Sometimes I'd been somewhere and just throw something at the wall or whatever. I'm just getting the thing out. But what it does is make me look like I'm unhinged. I'm already big. I'm already a big guy. I'm already an African American man. So next thing you know, they got this whole thing that they're scared of the big black guy. So I had to kind of work with all that frame when I'm working around all these, Caucasians and whatever the nationalities, and they already have a depiction of me, especially coming from where I was coming from. And so I had to be in a position of where I had to learn how to make sure I managed me. Because if I didn't, what was going to happen is that the people who I'm in, I'm charged over, i.e., my family, would then lose me. And then I'm sitting in somebody's facility somewhere and everything else, and then the whole thing about my family now is out of whack, right? Because I didn't hold myself accountable. I didn't hold myself up to a standard. And I know many of us been in those situations like that, not only on the workforce, but in our home life, in our personal lives as well. How many of us, if you brothers, you sitting there listening to that, how many times you done been showing up mad at your woman, and did something you had no business doing to your woman because you couldn't get it. You couldn't get it. You allowed yourself to get pulled into it. You may call it provoked, you may call it whatever you want to call it. But how many of us has been caught like this, sisters? How many of you been caught that in those same situations? Saying something, doing something that you probably should have done because he wasn't getting understanding about where you're coming from. You going off snapping, doing this and going that, and then you get the bad label of being an unruly woman. But this guy here was taking you through it. And he wasn't trying to give you no relief from it. This is how you get caught up because you're trying to make sure that somebody understands you who is not committed to understanding anything you got to say. It's not even at that point, they're not even trying to misunderstand. They have no commitment to giving you any type of understanding. They go into it with that. They walk in the game with the idea is that they're not going to give them it. That's why they're doing what they're doing in the first place. That's what you don't get. So I just want to kind of drop this in on us. Thank you everyone who's continuing to support Beyond Sight, the podcast. And of course, follow me on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. And of course, if you're checking me out on LinkedIn and of course, our YouTube channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel under the Hasan Clay Experience. This is the Hasan Clay Experience. I'll tell you about the experience every time I come up here, what's happening with me and how I'm trying to share it with you. And so we can all get on the same level, or we get on a higher plane, and we can do something beyond what they got us thinking and seeing at this, the what they think is called the obvious. At this point, I can't see it. I can't even see the obvious, right? And so I want you to be able to see beyond what they just putting in our face, right? So every Monday at 7 p.m., we go out with the podcast. It comes on. Please continue to check us out. Hey, our YouTube is growing, so we want to keep that YouTube growing as well. I'm getting a lot of views. I'm getting some more subscribers. So thank you for subscribing. Please hit the notification button when we get ready to broadcast and come up and go up there. So by all means, continue to check us out. Thank you. Check out my website, hasanclay.net. You get my book. You can kind of get my book, Taming the Storm, Understanding and Overcoming High Conflict Personalities for a Peaceful Life. And of course, I showed you my notebook. I kind of don't have a notebook with me now, but I showed you my notebook, The Mom Effect, The Silence of Men and How to Break It. This book is going to go on sale probably within the next couple of weeks. It's already on sale on Amazon. By all means, if you can't wait for it, please go get it. Brothers, this is going to be good for you. Sisters, are going to be even good for you to understand what your man is going through. Because sometimes we don't have enough understanding what our men are going through. We have a multitude of talking heads and and websites and social media pages that's extremely talking about what's happening for women and how to empower women and how to, and that's cool. That's where you at. That's cool. But we got to have some balance in that, because when that, what that really looks like, when we have all this going on and men ain't talking and men not being heard, or and men placating women and all this old type of stuff, you know, what they call simping, whatever. When we have all this going on, it throws the balance off. And who the balance actually affects the worst is the black community. We the one who take it, who get handled the worst with it, right? So just want to continue to support what we got going on here. And again, we're gonna see you guys in another week, Monday, 7 p.m. Y'all have a great week and have a marvelous weekend. Stay safe.